Are you ready? It's time for Disturbin the Burbs.
Welcome to Disturbin the Burbs. I'm Jen Sharon.
And I'm her husband, Jim Sharon.
That's right.
And where are we coming from? We're coming to you from our bunker deep in the Antarctic.
That's all you, baby.
We might have been drinking a little bit tonight.
If you want to say we're in the Antarctic, that's fine.
It's Monday night. We've turned it into a Friday night almost. We were out.
Hey, you know, if they hold happy hours on Monday,
right.
Who are we to not take advantage of that?
So we were hanging out with our good, dear friends, Sean and Angela.
Shout out.
This is your 15 seconds of fame, of global fame.
Yeah, 15 minutes of fame would be like half our podcast. So
right. Yeah.
You get your 15 seconds.
You get your 15 seconds.
Sean and Angela, you rock.
There you go. We had a good time with them.
Thanks for drinking with us.
A lot of tequila was had, at least by me.
Well, I had margaritas. So.
Yeah, you did. And I'm continuing my... So I'm going to take a sip right now.
You take a sip, buddy.
Topic number one today, a show that we just wrapped up. And holy shit, what a show.
We need a disclaimer, though.
We want to talk about this show and we want to do it justice. But in order to do that, there's going to be a few spoilers here.
There's going to be all the spoilers. And
it's not going to be all the spoilers because we're not going to give away the very last piece of it, right?
Well, but there's a lot of spoilers that I want to mention.
Yes, there is.
So really, if you haven't seen it.
And you want to watch it.
You do want to watch it.
Fast forward this episode by at least 5 minutes.
Well, we can come back to it later. We really don't want to spoil it for you. It's a great,
so
great
spoilers
fun show.
ahead. The White Lotus, HBO Max, written by Mike White, produced by Mike White, directed by Mike White. And if you guys don't know who Mike White is, he's been around in Hollywood for quite a while. The biggest thing that I think I can think of him is he wrote The School of Rock, and he was actually in that as well.
Yeah, well,
but he's done a ton of other stuff here. But so he this was his brainchild, and it was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, 6 episodes of awesomeness.
I would have to say this is probably one of the craziest, most beautiful, fucked up shows I have watched in a long, long time. And the first 3 minutes had you right away.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Well, let's give the premise real quick. What is it? It's set at a resort,
like a very expensive,
very fancy, expensive resort.
Where it was actually, here's a fun fact. So it was actually filmed at the Four Seasons in Maui, right? Mm-hmm. Where the lowest rate right now is about $1,200 a night. And the most expensive suite that they have is like 4,200 square foot. And it's like $26,000 a night.
Oh my
right?
God.
So this is white privilege all over the place, right? And that's where this show was filmed.
Yeah, several different families and how they intersect with each other during their vacations.
Right.
And how
rich white people
dysfunctional they all are.
It was a mess. It was a beautiful mess.
Right.
I really love this show. It starred Steve Zahn.
Crazy, beautiful, fucked up.
Yep.
Awesomeness.
Steve Zahn is in it. If you don't know him, I know we best know Steve Zahn from Sahara, right?
Yeah, and he was in That Thing You Do.
Oh, yeah, That Thing You Do. Connie Britton. I mean, she was in 911. Yeah. Nashville.
Friday Night Lights.
Yep, that. Jennifer Coolidge, who,
I'm taking the dog, dumbass.
Right.
Legally Blonde.
Legally Blonde. And, of course, she was Stifler's mom in American Pie. And she's been in a ton of other things. So she's fantastic. And then Alexandra Daddario, she was in Percy Jackson, and that's really all I know her from.
She's been in some other stuff,
but I know that she's definitely been in a bunch of other things. Also,
real quick, I saw something about Jennifer Coolidge possibly having Emmy buzz around her. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. That doesn't surprise me because this story of the White Lotus, like Jen was saying, it centers around a bunch of different groups of people and several different storylines, and how they they all intertwine while they're staying at the White Lotus. So it's super interesting. And the way the show opens up.
Yeah, let's talk about that first episode.
Yeah, that first episode. So the show opens up. We're at the airport. There's an older couple trying to engage with a younger guy, and he clearly does not want to talk to them.
Right.
And then he walks up to the window to look at the plane that he's about to board. And you see this big box that says human remains on it.
Being loaded onto the plane.
Right. And so he's talking about the conversation that he was having with the older people was about, him being there on his honeymoon.
And he tells him to fuck off or something.
Yeah,
doesn't he?
it doesn't. He says, I don't want to talk to you about it because and that's what's interesting about that. Oh, man, that just kind of blew my mind because
we should watch the first episode again.
Yeah, there is something about that first episode. She doesn't show up. She's not there.
Right.
So it leads you to believe that maybe his newlywed wife is in that box of human remains. But you don't know until the very end of the show.
No, it's dangled in front of us, like who is in this box of remains,
right.
Who dies during the course of this show.
Right.
And of course, you don't find out till the very end.
Yep. But within the first 3 to 5 minutes of the show, as everybody's arriving at this hotel, here you have Steve Zahn, and Jen is just like, "Oh my god!" And he's
freaking out.
His character has been checked and tested for cancer, and he's waiting for the results from his doctor, and he's waiting for a call, and so he's checking himself. So he's literally got the shaft of his penis in his hand, yanking it up to check his balls to see if he can feel anything.
He's asking his wife, do my balls look enlarged?
And this is within the first few minutes.
I'm holy shit and looking away.
Oh, it was so funny. But anyway, and that literally sets the tone for the entire
series. The whole show. And what did you find out about him or that scene?
So I did literally Google, was that Steve Zahn's real penis in the White Lotus? And it said no, that he had a prosthetic penis.
Was it his own balls?
No. I mean, those were so stretchy. I mean, there are stretchy balls. I can attest for this. I'm a 53-year-old man.
All right.
So you want to talk about stretchy balls.
Anyway, what else?
Anyway, so he's in that. That storyline is fantastic. It's him. He's married to Connie Britton. They've taken their family on this vacation.
Yeah, teenage daughter and her teenage girlfriend. They're there just to be totally moody teens and hate everything.
And they have a younger brother that's hanging out there. He's still a teen, but clearly he is that classic closet gamer. That just spends all kinds of time by himself on his devices.
Literally panicking when he loses track of his phone and iPad or phone and game console, right?
Yep. And a lot of the story unfolds around him of how he kind of comes into his own, and we don't really need to go deep into that.
Actually pretty cool.
Yeah, his character is probably one of the most complex, I would say, out of all of them. So there's that storyline. There's the newlywed storyline where the husband is just a complete and utter asshat.
Yeah, he's the one that we saw in the hotel or in the airport in the beginning,
right?
Which is after the trip.
Yep. And so there's that storyline with just all kinds of shit that unfolds there. It's hilarious.
He's a total dick.
Yeah, the husband's a dick. Then there's Jennifer Coolidge's role where she is there with her mother's ashes.
Yep, grieving. Total basket case.
Yep. She is clearly a very wealthy white woman.
Right.
And so there's a whole storyline with that. And then there is the icing on the cake, or the whipped cream on the pie.
The character that ties it all together, but also the most glorious of characters is the manager of the hotel.
The hotel manager. I do not know who he is. I've never seen him before, but he is the thread that weaves through the whole thing. And it is hilarious. the young girls that are on the family vacation, they bring a bunch of drugs with them, and they end up leaving the pool, and the manager gets a hold of them and starts taking the drugs, and you find out now again, these are spoilers, right? So we're kind of getting
big spoilers here. Big spoilers.
Yeah. So we're kind of getting into it,
but we can't help it.
And he obviously has a drug problem.
Yeah,
right?
he was on the wagon. He was clean and sober for they don't say how long, but you get the feeling that it was a long time. He completely falls off the wagon when these drugs fall in his hands.
Right.
And he literally falls apart over the next, the rest of the episodes.
Right. And he obviously has a gay storyline, and he comes on to some of the staff, and he and the staff get caught in compromising positions, and it's just one what the fuck moment after the other on this show.
Well, I mean, the biggest one,
right? Obviously. So there's this growing tension between the newlywed
jackass
husband,
newlywed husband,
right, and the hotel manager. Watch the show, right? Here's a tip that you can do, right? If you don't have HBO Max and we're enticing you, you can actually pay for a month, which I think is like $6 of just to watch The White Lotus. And then you can put your account on hiatus until you decide to. So
basically the same cost of renting a movie on
basically,
cable.
Right? And you could crank through all 6 episodes pretty quickly.
It's worth that.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. What were we talking about?
The hotel manager. I mean, the jackass newlywed guy wants to confront him about something, and he's coming there with another employee.
So much tension, right?
So they just walk in the unlocked office door, and the hotel manager's there with his face in the younger employee's ass.
Yeah, right.
So there's that, and they're both high on drugs, obviously.
Right. And it's just absolutely
it's a
crazy.
Shocking moment.
And we may be just jumping all over the place in this show. Hopefully there's a thread that you're following here as we're talking about this, where it kind of ends towards the end of in episode 6, we see the hotel manager actually taking a shit in this newlywed husband's suitcase.
I would say it's the main storyline is the strife between the manager and the newlywed husband.
Right. Okay.
And just I mean the whole his face in the other guy's ass story moment is hilarious. I mean, that's why we felt like we had to bring it up, because it is so funny, because the hotel or the newlywed guy, he's so satisfied after he catches this guy doing this, and he's walking away. It's like, I've got you now. And he's totally laughing. Yep. And that's the end of that episode.
But what he doesn't know is the hotel manager. I mean, we might as well go for broke here. We're adding one spoiler after another here. But the hotel manager ends up getting fired from his job in the end for various reasons.
He's absolutely fucking up this whole time.
He's just like saying, screw it. I'm going to go shit in this guy's suitcase. and
just to watch his descent from, the perfect host at the beginning first episode, and just everything he fucks up
unfolds
on.
At the very end.
It's spectacular.
It's amazing. So
he should be up for an Emmy.
So I think, The White Lotus was just a blast. It was probably one of the best
show we've seen in a while.
Long time. And the great thing is there is going to be a season 2. So, the next chapter of The White Lotus, it leaves Hawaii behind, and it's going to follow a different group of vacationers.
Yeah, a different location of White Lotus.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, in the Orient. It could be anywhere else, wherever these...
Which is kind of reminds me of American Horror Story, right? Where it's like a new, completely new story each time, but I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm really already looking forward to that. And of course, they haven't even started filming that, so it'll be a long time before we see season 2 of The White Lotus.
I think that's the most enthusiastic we've been about a show for a while.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. So another show that we've really been enjoying is on the SyFy network. It's called Surreal Estate.
Yes, love this one.
And I think we might have mentioned Surreal Estate, I don't know, in previous episodes, but it was one that we were looking forward to. I don't think we'd actually started watching it yet.
All right.
So, and if there's anything that our listeners know about Jen and I, we love shows that are about supernatural
paranormal,
things. Paranormal. Not super scary stuff, but we're huge fans of Buffy and Supernatural. So anything that usually falls under that genre, we watch. I mean, we've watched the Twilight series multiple times. Anything along those lines. Obviously, a huge fan of Harry Potter. So we're drawn to these kind of shows.
Oh, yeah. And this one definitely fits that category. Definitely scary moments, ghosts and hauntings. Yep. But there's also all sorts of humor along with that. Great characters. Yep. And so it's based on, or it centers around a real estate group, you know, with a realtor and all of his employees. Yep. They specialize in selling problem houses.
Quote unquote problem houses.
I don't know how he stumbled on this niche, but he did, and so he takes care of all these homes that are that have paranormal issues.
Right. So, you know, I mean, so far it's really been fantastic.
Yeah, we've seen about 6 episodes, I think.
Yep. It's a little campy. There's just enough creep factor to kind of, you know, get the goosebumps on the back of your neck, you know, and the hair to stand up. But it really kind of falls into that category of supernatural where, you know, it's not super gory violence. You know, the supernatural piece of it is
and pretty much each episode gets wrapped up satisfactorily.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it could be considered a serial show, but each one, if you were to just watch episode 2 and then episode 5, and then, you know, it might not make as big of a difference because it is serialized.
Not a lot of overall story arc, but there is a little bit.
I'm probably analyzing this a little too deep, but it's a great show. So if you have basic cable, I don't know where else SyFy network is shown on any sort of streaming service, but we have it on Xfinity.
Usually you can just Google Surreal Estate
and see where you can
watch it. It shows you where you can view it.
Yeah. So you know, I feel like the budget might be a little smaller on this show because of the network, but I think they do a fantastic job.
There's not a ton of huge special effects, but it all looks good.
And you know, the actors on it, I don't necessarily recognize all of them. You're a fan of Schitt's Creek, and so
one of the employees of the main guy,
the actor, the real estate agent.
And I didn't look up her name, but she is the daughter of
Eugene Levy. Yeah. So
and she was on Schitt's Creek with him.
Yeah.
And her brother.
So we know her last name is Levy anyway.
Sorry.
So she's on the show. And then I believe the main actor was on Winona Earp, which I think you and I dipped our toe in that.
Yeah, we should get
It was a
that.
good show. We just we have so many things that we're watching. It's hard to keep up with, you know, and I thought it was interesting. I was kind of poking around because I'm curious if this is a real issue where, you know, real estate agents come across houses that, you know,
surely
are problem houses. And I found out that there's only one house in America that has been officially designated as a haunted house, like a real legit haunted house. And it was, you know, it was designated that way by the New York Supreme Court.
Holy cow.
And this is a 5-bedroom Victorian house at 1 Laveta Place in Nyack, New York. That's 1 Laveta. So Laveta. So you can probably do a Google image search and see what, and it's a beautiful, wonderful Victorian house. But
does anyone live there?
I don't know if any. The last article I read, it said it was up for sale again, but it was several years old. But in 1991, the judges on the court, the New York Supreme Court, ruled that the house is actually haunted as a matter of law. So this bizarre and historic ruling came out of a lawsuit relating to the home sale. Someone trying to buy the house pulled out when he discovered that the house was reputed to be haunted. So the court ruled that the house was haunted as a matter of law because the owner had represented it as such to various national publications, including Reader's Digest. Well, that apparently holds up in court if it's in the Reader's Digest.
The Reader's Digest.
So basically, you can't go around claiming your house is haunted and then deny it when it's convenient. So
and when you want to sell it,
right? So this place is real.
Well, here's another interesting tidbit, kind of along those lines. No big surprise on this, but a reputation for ghosts can hurt the resale value of a home.
I'm shocked.
They actually have a survey. In a survey, it was found that apparently 43% of us are less likely to buy a home if we suspect it is haunted.
Right. Yeah.
That rises to 50% among those who didn't finish high school, the survey found, which is very odd. Odd statistic.
That is a bit of an odd statistic.
I'm really actually quite shocked that whether it's 43 or 50%, that number isn't higher.
Right.
So basically 50% of people are okay with buying haunted houses.
Yeah, ghost in, no problem.
And okay, so if you're stuck trying to sell a haunted house, here's a tip for you. The survey found that you are best off marketing it to millennial men ages 18 to 34.
Interesting.
Because 28% say they are more likely to buy a house if it's haunted. Mm-hmm. Otherwise,
it's all those goddamn hipsters, those millennial hipsters that would think it's cool to live in a house if it's haunted.
Other than that, try to sell to those with graduate degrees or the over 65.
Okay.
Those groups also told the survey that they care the least that a house is haunted.
All right.
So we are among the smarts that would not be interested.
I would like to make that proclamation right now that if I were to buy a new house and there was any inkling that there was some sort of paranormal activity in that house, I would walk the other way so fucking quick.
Agreed, honey.
All right. So we don't have to worry about that.
No.
Anyway, hey, guess what? Following that house is haunted, we've got a new segment.
Yes. It's time for Craigslist Missed Connections.
Why don't you take this first Craigslist Missed Connection?
Okay, so this one is called...
And we're focusing, now there is truly a plethora of wonderful items out on Craigslist Missed Connections, right? And it's all
across the country.
All across the country. So over the next episodes, we don't know when this is going to end because it's just a treasure trove.
Purely for our entertainment here.
Yes. We'll be sharing with you a lot of these Craigslist Missed Connections. Today, this episode, we're going to focus on some really local Washington State, some of our neighboring cities here, missed connections that actually came to us from this area. So anyway, Jen, why don't you go ahead and take number one there.
This first one is called You Gave Me Your Lighter on the Gravel Road. And it's from Shelton.
Shelton, Washington. Okay.
You saw me freaking out on a gravel road in Shelton. Let me use your lighter. I just wanted to thank you. I was so happy you stopped because afterwards I was able to calm down for a moment. I wouldn't trust a person in a situation like that, so you're pretty brave. Kindness is all that matters anymore. Everyone is just an asshole these days. Thanks again.
So is that how they talk in Shelton, Washington?
That's my
And they got a bunch of hillbillies
trashy,
over there in Shelton. Is that like blue collar central?
I don't know. That's just what came to me.
Apologize for our listeners in Shelton, Washington, if we have any.
If I've got it wrong.
We cast no aspersions on the way that you speak. That's just how Jen interpreted it.
And if we can match, these two people together to get in touch, then we have done our job.
Which is actually pretty true because statistically, the folks that choose to write to Missed Connections on Craigslist have like a 0.2% chance of actually reaching the intended person.
Completely pointless.
So that's
why we love it.
We're extending their reach just by globally by reading these on our podcast. So their chances of actually reaching their intended recipient has increased by 0.2%. 0.005%. So anyway, number 2, simply titled Billy Goat from Linwood, Washington. The message is simple. It says, I hope you die.
Very useful, Billy Goat.
Mm-hmm. So Billy Goat in Linwood, Washington. Or maybe it's two Billy Goats.
Somebody's got to know
in
the
Linwood,
significance.
Washington. I hope you die.
Hope.
I thought that was very poignant. It was to the point. There's no arguing what this person hoped Billy Goat.
Mm-hmm. Will Billy Goat see this message?
He might, and he might actually be a listener of our podcast.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, I've got one.
Okay, last one, right?
Yes, it's called Western Buds.
All right.
Budz.
Mm-hmm.
Buds from Renton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You are beautiful. Tall, dark hair, dark eyes from what I could see. You were there with a friend and drove a new black Mercedes. We locked eyes as I walked out. I gave you a smile, took my time leaving, and you waved as I pulled away. I pulled over onto that side street hoping you would follow, but unfortunately you did not. We should chill and smoke a blunt sometime. I hope you hit me back because I should have turned around.
So you did an entirely different...
I'm exploring my voiceover techniques.
You're exploring something. And you just made the assumption that it was just like a Valley Girl or something.
I did. Is that okay?
It could be a guy, that was talking about some, beautiful butch, tall, dark hair, dark eyes.
Whatever.
So anyway, that was our first.
Hopefully they get to chill and smoke a blunt together.
That's right. That was our first episode, our segment of Craigslist Missed Connections. I hope you enjoyed those. We'll be bringing you more in future episodes. But right now, we've got some music that we want to share with you guys. We have several tracks. There's been a lot of new music released over the last week. And there were several that, just kind of stood out to us. I mean, there was a ton. We could, play clips from a bunch of different songs, but
you picked some good ones.
These were ones that just kind of struck our fancy, just because of our musical taste. And it's our show. And it's our fucking show. So if you don't like it, don't listen. Anyway, the first song, it's called "Can't Let Go," and it's by Robert Plant and Allison Krause. Woo-hoo. Should we give that one a play?
Yeah.
All right, let's listen to a few seconds of that.
Told you, baby, one more time. Don't make me sit all alone and cry when it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. I'm like a fish out of water and a cat in a tree. You don't even want to talk to me when it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. He won't take me back when I come around. Says he's sorry, then he pulls me out. I got a big chain around my neck and I'm broken down. Well, it's over. I know, but I can't let go.
All right. Well, what did you think of that?
I love it.
Did it remind you of now this is the second album that Robert Plant and Allison Krause have teamed up for. So if you'll remember way back in like 2007, they collaborated on an album called Raising Sand. And there was a standout song there for at least us called Gone, Gone, Gone.
Love it.
And we've done that one on karaoke together multiple times.
That's a good karaoke duet
That one's really fun. Now, this one really reminded me of that kind of genre, right? That was very much had a rockabilly, rumba vibe to it. The new album is called Raise the Roof. I don't think that has been released quite yet, but this is the first single from that.
Oh, and it's a good one.
So I can't wait to hear the rest of the album. It was produced by T-Bone Burnett, who is known, he definitely has very much a distinctive style in his producing. So I was actually glad to hear this. It was a really fun one. Now, this second song that we wanted folks to listen to is kind of a remix of a song that David Guetta and Sia put out. a while back called Titanium. Yeah, well, he was the one that actually produced and released the song.
Okay.
And then Sia, sang it.
Gotcha.
But there is this crazy new version from Danish DJ and producer called Morten, who I have no clue who that is, but
so a remix.
But it's definitely a remix,
okay,
and gives that song a whole new vibe.
Very cool.
You want to give that one a listen?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, here we go. So, isn't that crazy?
I had not heard that before we recorded, and that was very crazy. And I have the perfect way to describe it. Titanium, as if it was on the Blade Runner soundtrack.
Right. For those of you that are, what would you say, EDM?
Yeah. That too.
I mean, there's the big drop. And unfortunately, we can't play the whole song for you. You only get due to copyright reasons, we just can't play the whole song on the podcast.
Go find it, though.
But yeah, definitely look for that.
It was cool.
It has a totally different feeling than the original version
absolutely.
of that. It's just the buildup, with the bass. It was so amazing. So anyway, I thought that one was worth sharing with our listeners. And then finally, kind of wrapping up the music that we wanted to play for you guys this week is it's a remix of Elton John's "Cold Heart." Cold Heart, right? Yeah. And it's a new remix from Australian dance musicians Panau. It's Pnau, pronounced Panau, and it features Elton John and Dua Lipa.
Yeah, it's absolutely a different song than Elton John's original.
Right. You want to give that one a listen?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So what do you think?
I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't one of my favorite Elton John songs, so I like what they did to it.
Right. It definitely breathes new life into that. So if you're interested, look for the Cold Heart remix with Elton John, Dua Lipa, and Panau, Pnau, Panau. Anyway, one more segment before we close up tonight.
What is it?
It is the it's time for the weekly fortune cookie. All right, Jen.
Okay, I'm going to open it.
Yep, crack it open.
You might want to run, but you should stay and fight.
Okay.
I want to read that again.
Okay, read it again.
You might want to run, but you should stay and fight.
Okay, well, that's a good fortune. You might want to run. I think often we're wanting to ignore things that are tough, right? At the very root of it, it's like we often come across things that are really hard to face in our lives.
Yes, and if we're talking metaphorically like that, I'm all for being brave and powering through.
Right.
But if we're going literal on this fortune cookie, fortune cookie, I'm not a fighter and I don't want to get beat up.
Right.
So I'm going to run.
So if there is actually physical harm, then you're going to ignore the fortune cookie.
Right.
and actually run. So what if it was a ghost? You might want to run, but you should stay in.
I probably would run from ghosts because those are scary.
Okay. Well, and we've got to have the traditional endings to each fortune cookie because everybody has, their own version of it. So you might say, you might want to run, but you should stay and fight in bed.
Right. Oh, and an alternative on that one is between the sheets.
Right. Okay.
You might want to run, but you should stay and fight between the sheets.
Of course, another ending to that is you might want to run, but you should stay and fight in the bathroom.
Ew, I never heard that one. Yuck. I can see that being funny.
I think I've actually had those moments in the bathroom.
Oh, stop.
Where I'm trying to...
Dude?
What?
Don't offend our listeners.
Oh, we're too fucking late for that. I'm sure we've offended them long, long ago. And finally, you can always end your fortune cookie by, you might want to run, but you should stay and fight. That's what she said.
Which only works in some occasions. But yes, I do love That's What She Said.
All right. Well, anyway, that's this week's fortune cookie. And honestly, that's this week's episode.
It's good. I liked it.
All right.
I like my accents.
To recap, we brought to you The White Lotus and our review of that and tons of spoilers. We talked a little bit about Surreal Estate on the SyFy network. Great show, Haunted Real Estate. You should go check it out. We brought to you a new segment called Craigslist Missed Connections. We covered a few new songs and finally wrapped things up with a fortune cookie.
The fortune cookie.
That was a lot of fun.
It was.
All right.
Thanks, honey.
Well, thanks. A lot of fun as usual.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.